I'd like to introduce Nikki Malcom. She is the interim CEO and Executive Director of the Pacific Northwest Aerospace Association. Nikki, thank you for taking the time to attend, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. As Matt mentioned, I've been, in contact with you all for a couple years now. Has been that few. Who knows? There's that COVID gap that nobody really knows what happened during that time. So I will just jump in. And I wasn't quite sure what level of detail that you wanted in this. So you're going to get a lot of information. We'll go into questions afterwards. So if you have any, just let me know.
That sounds like the perfect level of detail.
Perfect. What's the balance here, Alex, of students to advisors, or do you have an idea?
So I'm seeing quite a few new names, though.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, I would say it's roughly it's looking about 50-50 here. I'm seeing we saw a few students, but also quite a few professionals.
If you're a student, could you drop a +1 in the chat?
Can I actually? How about can I start a poll?
Right.
That's great. Yes. I'm gonna start by asking people to show me how many are actually interested in pursuing a career in aerospace.
Right.
With no cameras on, that's going to make it a little challenging. But if you want to drop it in the chat, that'd be good. Thank you for inviting me here today. I'm going to take you on a journey to talk about the greatest industry in the whole world, aerospace, by starting with the current state of the industry, and then what I see as the challenges that we're going to face in 2022, and then finish with what the bright spots are. So more than 1,000 companies large and small, make up Washington's aerospace supply chain, and that gets even more as you look into the entire Pacific Northwest. We provide every major aircraft manufacturer and airline in the world with components, parts, systems, avionics, communications, not to mention the rapidly growing network of businesses dedicated to the commercial space cluster, like satellite makers, launch systems, rockets, propulsion methods. We support commercial aviation, defense, new space, UAV, and more, all in this beautiful upper left of the country. So I'll answer the question of how is the state of the aerospace industry the way that we answer every question in aerospace. It depends. I think it goes without saying that COVID hit the industry really hard, and at the same time, there were other challenges facing commercial aerospace. Throughout the past 18 months, we've seen a ton of consolidation with companies and a few closures, unfortunately. While large commercial aircraft production is down, we saw an increase in the production of business jets, and the defense market has always grown steadily or stayed the same. Air traffic is increasing, and as a result, we're seeing aircraft orders start to pick up. You've probably all seen the news lately around that. Rate changes are increasing for both large OEMs, original equipment manufacturers like Airbus and Boeing, and some analysts are estimating mid-2022 for recovery. Some people are saying those analysts are optimistic, but I am too, so I'm going to use their data. On the manufacturing side, we're starting to see some organizations' production levels increase, and the companies that are busiest, quite frankly, are the ones that were able to diversify their type of business before or during COVID. We expect those to continue to increase, but they're going to be met with a couple of challenges. And the two major challenges that we're facing in aerospace right now, besides COVID, is the workforce and the supply chain. And the industry, and let's face it, the whole world is facing the workforce challenge right now. In the space industry alone in Washington, as of December 31st, there were 1,400 open positions, with 63% of them being engineering roles. We need to attract more skilled labor into the industry, and we're competing with local technology companies to do so. I believe that a lot of the bright spots that I'll talk to you about later are great reasons to join the aerospace, so listen up, everyone that's considering it. And it's not your grandpa's aerospace industry anymore. The culture is shifting, as well as new technologies advancing that are making it an exciting and innovative industry to work in. In addition, the things that have always made it a great industry to work in still exist. We have a long-standing history of aerospace in this region, and the people that work in it are incredible. I think you might know a couple of them here. I spent 22 years of my life in the industry, pretty much growing up with it in it, and I can say with the utmost confidence that aerospace is a great place to call home for your career. So I'll go to the other big challenge that we're facing in the industry, which is supply chain. And for those of you with your cameras on, raise your hand if your life has been personally disrupted by supply chain shortages recently. Anybody been into the grocery store, seen the empty shelves, had your Amazon order show up late? Right. There, it's impacting the entire world and not just aerospace, but it is affecting aerospace, and that effect is going to very likely get worse before it gets better. The multiple factors, there's multiple factors driving it, but it's clear there's just going to be constraints no matter what. That's driving longer lead times and higher pricing. And now with the addition of all of the new space companies going from design to some of them even moving into a production mode, that's going to tighten the supply chain even more going forward. And you guys are probably thinking, who is this Debbie Downer? Should not take anything positive at this point, but we have a ton of great stuff on the horizon. We're seeing air traffic increasing, and since there are a few aircraft in the pipeline right now, it'll take a while for us to see the impact of that in the production line, but it is expected. And like I say, some analysts are saying mid-2022, so everyone cross your fingers and toes that that is the case, because that's going to be here before we know it. The things that I'm very excited about are the new technologies focusing on sustainability. Companies like magniX and Aviation, with a focus on clean energy for short-haul aircraft, they're making giant leaps forward. Aviation is planning to do flight testing on their Alice aircraft later this year, and they recently completed their full power taxi test. And if you don't follow them, I highly encourage you to do so. The aircraft is using magniX motors. Both of these are up-and-coming companies, and they're located in Washington. They're doing their manufacturing in Washington State. In addition to that, companies like Aerotech are working with Universal Hydrogen to outfit an aircraft that will be powered using hydrogen. The amount of new technology and new innovation that's coming out in the industry is something to get very excited about. New space industry, Washington's being called the Silicon Valley of space due to the cluster of industry employers. We're seeing emergence of new space startups like Explore and companies like SpaceX and Spaceflight making huge leaps in their technology. In addition, like I mentioned earlier, there are companies where their space tech is reaching maturation and they're moving from more of a design phase into a production phase, which is going to increase the amount of jobs and opportunities out there as well. Other exciting things to come are technology advances, and this is where I get very nerdy. We're seeing adoption of technology happening at a faster pace than any previous year, and I expect that to continue. I think Alex is even involved with working at Toolgauge on utilizing some robots in their production system. And the adoption of new technologies will enable companies to compete and innovate even better before helping the Pacific Northwest become an even richer aerospace industry. I don't know if you have followed any of the T7 trainer, but it was the first aircraft that was actually designed using a digital twin, and a major success story in the industry adopting Industry 4.0. Now that I've said industry 6,000 times, From a commercial standpoint, there are multiple programs working with the state currently to drive more aerospace and defense into the region. Commercial aerospace will recover, and when you add that together with new and emerging technologies, it creates a bright future for aerospace to continue its long history in the Pacific Northwest. And if any of you would like to get a more in-depth understanding of the market outlook, we need some volunteers at our annual aerospace conference happening the February 7th through the 10th. And we'd love to have you. So let me know if you want to volunteer. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nikki. Has anyone been to this conference she's talking about in February? Highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
I was a speaker with them was a couple years ago, Nikki. Very impressive event. As far, especially those students that are out there. Nikki, are there ways for students to attend for networking opportunities? What would those be?
Yeah, so if you volunteer, you can be there for parts of it, and you can for that. But that's really, we don't have any student mentor things set up, but that's certainly something we could talk about in the future.
Okay. So even the volunteer channel, absolutely worth it to anyone that's curious. You really get to learn about the who's who of the area. You get to shake hands or meet virtually with people that could be your potential boss or coworkers. It's very plausible right now with the labor market, the way it's moving.
And especially
Highly
with so many
recommend it.
people hiring right now.
Absolutely. So if there's any student-specific opportunities you can think of outside of volunteering, I'd be happy to publish those for you guys.
Thanks, Matt.